Today we begin our journey through the book of Job, which is a truly unique book in the Bible. Many scholars believe that this was the first book in the Bible to actually be written. Of course, it doesn't record the earliest events, Genesis does that, but Genesis, along with the other books of the Pentateuch, was written by Moses, and he wasn't born until the Exodus story from Egypt. And so it is a uniquely ancient book. It is also unique in the fact that it raises so many questions that it refuses to answer. And yet, this is a book that for thousands upon thousands of years, people have been drawn to and have taken great comfort from. So, the opening verses introduce us to a man called Job from Uz. Now, the location of Uz is not exactly known, it's probably not in Israel, and yet he feared God and shunned evil. He's got a great big family. He's got thousands of sheep, thousands of camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys, as well as a large number of servants. He was the greatest man among all the people of the East. We read about the sons of Job, who have apparently been raised well. They are generous. They look after each other as siblings. They love each other well. And Job, he gets up early every morning to offer sacrifices for his children, concerned for their spiritual state. And here's where things get weird. We are now brought into what we might think of as the throne room of God. This is the heavenly council. This is a rare glimpse into the spiritual realm, giving us an understanding not just into God who rules the universe, but how God rules the universe. And it's absolutely amazing. This seems to depict a formal assembly where angelic beings come and report to God. By the way, we see this same assembly in 1 Kings 22, where God has made up his mind to destroy the evil king Ahab, and he asks the heavenly council who will accomplish it and by what means. And on that occasion, a spirit comes forward and says, I will entice Ahab to go to war where he will be killed. In Psalm 82, we read that God presides in the great assembly. He renders his judgment among the gods. Gods there in inverted commas, it means heavenly beings. So there is this heavenly council, and the angels come and they present themselves before God, giving perhaps various reports on activities that they have been involved with upon the earth. And then we read that Satan, whose name literally means an adversary or an accuser, he came with them. And the Lord said, where have you come from? And the two of them enter into a discussion. God says, have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil. To which Satan responds by essentially saying, but he only loves you because you have blessed him. What he really loves is the gifts you have given, not the giver. You remove those resources and see your relationship with him crumble. In other words, Satan's accusation is that Job's love for God is ultimately shallow and self-serving. Now, it's worth pausing here to ask the question for a moment. What about us? Would that accusation be true of us? Do we love the gifts that God has given us more than the giver? Do we look around at our families, our luxuries, our modern Western conveniences, and draw our delight from those things rather than from the one who gave them? Or to turn the question on its head, when trials come and your health is taken from you, when sickness strikes your own family, when you lose your job, when you are robbed of that piece of your identity, what then will you say about God? Well, God responds to Satan's challenge, and he allows Satan to put Job to the test. He says, in effect, very well then, everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger. And Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. The evil that is brought into Job's life here is brought about by Satan. Even Satan, in his extraordinary power, cannot overstep the line that God has drawn for him. You can go this far and no further. And that is exactly what happens. Well, you've read the chapter, and so you know that in short order, Job comes under attack from neighboring tribes, losing his livestock. But most devastatingly of all, Job's children are together. They are feasting and enjoying each other's company as they've been brought up to do, and the house they are in collapses, killing the lot of them. Job is not untouched by these troubles that he has to endure now. He is deeply grieved. He tears his robe, he shaves his head, he falls upon the ground, and yet the Bible calls what he does here worship. He is able to say, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, naked I will depart. The Lord gave and the Lord has taken away, but may the name of the Lord be praised." I want you to know that as he says those words, the tears are streaming down his face. He is grieving to the core of his being. And yet he knows the character of the God that he loves. And though he cannot understand the situation he is in, he knows that God is worthy of his trust. And so he trusts him even now. This is a big book. Job is just starting the roller coaster of emotions, but it is a beautiful picture here of a man whose heart is completely broken, and yet his trust in the Lord is not. May God give us such strength in our time of need.